Hello everyone, and welcome to our second discussion board. Now before we begin, I should warn you that I'm kind of the odd duck teacher. No, I don't quack, but I do love to have fun and get people up and moving and working in groups. And as you may have guessed by the opening sequence, I have a little lesson planned for us. Now we're going to go on the assumption, and we all know what that means, but we're going to go on the assumption that you're teaching history and that you've laid the foundation for this class. Now, I don't care if it's Western civilization, you're looking at the ancient Greeks and Romans, or you're looking specifically at the early American Republic, just so long as you've laid some kind of foundation towards this. Now, for this lesson, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need blank index cards, tokens or poker chips, markers, and blank paper. On one side of the blank index cards, mark them from a number from 1 to 27, a number on each of the cards. Now, this will match the amendments we have in the Bill of Rights, and we'll get to that in a minute. Each of the token chips would basically be how you're going to choose your groups. So if you have a large class, you would put in matching numbers of each of the tokens so that you get a group of normally about 4 to 5 students, if at all possible. If you have a smaller class, of course, adjust accordingly. But when your students arrive to class, first thing they do when they walk in the door, stand there with a bag, have them reach in and grab one of those tokens or poker chips. Have them go to their seat, do your normal morning routine or your normal beginning of class routine, attendance, whatever. But when you get done, write the words liberty and freedom on the board and ask the students to grab a notebook and in there write in their own words what they think is the definition of liberty and freedom. Now, once that's done, have them put everything else aside except for the chip, a pen, and that notebook. Tell them they're going to gather by chip color around the room. Blue to one corner, red to another, and so on, depending on your room size and how many chips you use, etc., etc. Have them take their pen and their notebook and their chip with them. Now, while they're moving around and distribute the markers and the blank paper to each group. Now, each person within their group is to read their idea or their definition of both liberty and freedom. Once they do this, have them write down a group definition of liberty and freedom. Now, once they do this, give them a couple of minutes to, discuss it amongst themselves. And they're going to write this on one of the sheets of paper. They're going to bring it up and place it on the board, little piece of tape, nothing bad. Together, discuss it and come up with a group definition, a whole class definition. Get them all to agree what they believe should be the definition of liberty and freedom. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to then compare it to the following slide. The two slides that were up were the definition of liberty and justice from the dictionary and, of course, from Cicero and Aristotle. Now, have them compare it with their group definition. Are they the same? Are they similar? Where do they see the big differences? And talk to them about how in today's society, most people use liberty and freedom almost interchangeably. Now, Hanna Pitkin wrote an article, Are Freedom and Liberty Twins?, where she quotes Maurice Cranston, and he talks about liberty and freedom. He says liberty tends to be used in a more political context, where freedom is in more of a philosophical or in a general use. ask them if that's true. You know, do we only use the idea of liberty when we're talking about political context? As everything with a freedom more of a philosophical one? You know, how are our freedoms guaranteed? And then bring up the Bill of Rights. Now, at this point, you're going to get those cards out that we set up. And tell the students, as Americans, we are guaranteed several freedoms that are protected in the Bill of Rights. Shortly, one member of your group will come up and choose one of the cards numbered up here. Your job is to identify which right you have, which amendment. You're going to write that amendment on the back of the card along with the name of your group members. And then you're going to answer a series of questions, and the slide will be coming up for that. You know, so if your students get this and they're having a difficult time knowing which amendment to use, they can go to the National Archives, which has a transcript of it, and it's very easy to read. And you can limit the number of cards that you use. Maybe you want to stick to the first 10 amendments. Maybe you want to have all 27 and give them a really huge option. It's really kind of interesting to see if they would get the one on prohibition. That's kind of fun. But here's the slide. Give each team a little time to, you know, make sure they get the right amendment written down, that they answer the question, and make sure they work as a group. Once they're, you know, give them a little time. Once their time is up, have them present their Bill of Rights amendment. Discuss with the class, you know, would this, you know, if we removed this Bill of Rights, would it matter? Would it make a big difference? Would it make a difference in your life as a student or my life as an adult? Or would it really just wreck everything? Why? Why not? You know, really get them involved in seeing if this freedom is, you know, one of those essential freedoms that we must have, or is it one of those sort of ancillary freedoms that, like prohibition, that got repealed? Now, this is where the fun begins. This is where you're going to play the game, Survivor, Liberty, and Freedom. And you're going to reinsert the very first slide. And of course, if you can play the music, that's so much fun. I'll show you the slide again just one more time. Now, this is where you're going to tell them, you are now marooned on an island, and each color is a different tribe. Okay? Together, you're going to have 5 minutes. Set a timer. Your phone has it. It's not hard. But each team, each tribe, has 5 minutes to come up with a tribe name and a flag. And then they're going to write their names around the edge of that tribal flag. Please reiterate to them that it needs to be able to be pronounced and it should be class-worthy. No cussing, double meanings, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nod, nod type thing. No. I taught at a Catholic school. It was something we had to make sure we told them, don't do that. But once they have it done, after the 5 minutes, their flag is done, colored or not colored, it's there. Then you're going to present the flag, hang the flag, whether you tape it to the wall beyond them or tape it to the desk. Just hang the flag. Now, as a tribe, they're now going to come up with 4 freedoms. Now, this is what they're going to decide as a group, 4 freedoms that their tribe is going to abide by. And again, it must be done by group consensus. If you start to notice that one person is taking the lead, great, but make sure everybody is participating. Once they do this, they've got to explain why. These 4 freedoms are their 4 freedoms. This is how their tribe is going to work. This is their freedoms that they're going to have. And give them about 15 minutes or so. Don't give them too long because then they could go on forever. Sort of a knee gut jerk reaction as to what they want to do. And I'll show you the questions here that'll help guide them in choosing their 4 freedoms. Once this is done, have each group present their 4 freedoms to the other tribes. Begin a discussion on, are there any of the freedoms that they really, really liked, didn't like, why, things like that. Now ask them to imagine, well, now we've got our own little government on our island. And this is where we're going to now start to really kick in Survivor, because we're going to vote our ideas off the island. Ah, yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. You are going to keep some and you're going to vote somebody off, or vote an idea off. Now, each of the tribes will take their papers and exchange it with others, and you're going to give each student a sheet that looks like this. Now, each person is going to individually look at the sheet and choose one of the freedoms that they would keep and one of the freedoms that they would vote off. This is not a group consensus at this point in time. This is a personal thing. They will choose. They'll write it on that sheet, fold it over, bring it up to the teacher, and that is how they're going to vote, just like on Survivor. Now, once this is all done, somebody on the team will keep a tally, right next to the original sheet on which ones get kept and which ones get voted off. The highest number of votes on both will be kept and, of course, taken off. We'll write them up on the board, a list of the keeps and a list of the voted off ideas. Now, when you do this, you're going to ask them, are you surprised by these answers? Are you upset by these answers? Do you agree? Or is this a fair idea of how it got voted? They try to get them to understand that when you do a group consensus, like the framers of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, sometimes you don't always get what you wanted, and it has to be something that's better for the group. So, if they really start to have a problem and, is it right, is it wrong, get them to look at other amendments. Maybe have them look at 13, 14, 15, 19, and 26. Imagine if these had been voted off our Bill of Rights, would it make a difference? And it's all about either slavery ending it or voting rights themselves. Now, you can keep on with this idea and have them go through and write a short essay for a homework assignment, having them pick from the Bill of Rights which one of these freedoms they would choose as their personal one that really speaks to them. One that if it was taken from them, it would be very detrimental. Why? Why do you believe that this is a fundamental freedom? Now, the whole idea of this is to beyond just looking at the differences between freedoms and liberties and, getting them up and moving. It's a group effort as well. And it's a fun way of trying to get them to do things. Now, there's also a couple other ways, really quickly. One of them is iCivics. iCivics is literally all about gaming and civics. I got this when I was working on a different PhD for higher education, and we were doing gaming in the classroom. Now, you can have a lot of fun with these games. They come with lesson plans to help you use them. And it's a great way to get them into government, civics, all different things like that. They have games called Do I Have the Right, which you get to be a constitutional lawyer. You have games like Race to Ratify and Certify U.S. Citizenship, among a whole bunch of others. I hope you get to check it out when you have a chance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.